Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. So this kind of is a good view to show you just how big this cabinet is. This cabinet is actually pretty big. But you can also see without that front door stuff on there, kind of what I was talking about for this half shelf, which I think is going to live right in here. It'll probably only be 12 inches deep or so, and I'll just set it on cleats. But that's going to leave all this for anything taller that I may want to store in here. I don't know what all is going to live in here yet, but I do know that I want options. So next up, I'm going to cut a bunch of these strips and start getting this top frame put in. These corners will get cut back at a 45 just for clearance. And then they'll be glued and screwed down all the way around. I don't really need this frame for structure, but I do need it for mounting the top. So that's what we're going to do next. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these because we did it on the other two cabinets, but these will be made exactly the same way, and then I'll use the domino and we'll just get all the way around. So that's what I'm going to do next, and then we'll go after this door frame. And once that door frame is in place, we can set this cabinet in place and really start working all the internal stuff that we need to work. Okay, so I've just set these pieces in. They just got a little bit of super glue on them to hold them in place so I can get measurements to make the frame. Now this bottom, where it reaches the bottom plate, will get a dado in it, but not until after I actually make this frame. And that's what I'm going to do next. Now the material of choice here was alder, just because I had a lot of that left over from previous projects, and this is shop furniture. So it was a good place to move some of that alder to. And it'll still look good with walnut panels and whatnot on the door, so it'll still look good. So next up, I'm just going to go ahead and cut these to size and get the dominoes in them and get that in clamps and glued up so I can cut this dado in the bottom and then go ahead and fit this frame in and get it attached. Okay, I've got the sacrificial fence in. I got a 3/4 inch dado stack, and I'm just going to run this piece through to get that notch in the bottom to fit the bottom shelf on that, and then give this a good test fit. Okay, my top had splayed out just a little bit, not a lot, so I just clamped some blocks on here so I can use that clamp to help pull the top together. So all I'm going to do is get glue on all this, glue in this frame, and then I'm going to use some brad nails just to help hold it in place while the glue dries. Okay, so there's the cabinet all set in place. I'm happy with how that turned out. I've got a couple of clamps on it just to hold it in place. Eventually I'll put screws through the wall there in the cabinets just to hold them all together. But for now that just set in place so I can take a look at it. I'm going to call that a wrap for tonight, but when I get up in the morning, we're going to start going after drawers on that cabinet on the right. Okay guys, I went ahead and I cut all the parts for the drawers. They pretty much follow the plans. My case might have been the 16th or so off of the plan, so make sure your numbers come from your project, not from the plans. This is where you pull your numbers from here. So next up, I'm going to go over to the table saw and start cutting the groove in this. Nothing fancy joinery here. This is all still shop furniture. So pretty basic drawers in this one. They'll all get 1/4 inch bottoms, and hopefully we'll get some drawers put in here today. Okay, I got all my drawer parts here. I've set the height of the blade at 1/4 inch, and I'm about 1/4 inch off of the fence. And I'm going to just cut the first groove to accept the bottoms in these, and then I'll slide the fence over and cut another groove. And then of course test fit on my 1/4 inch drawer bottom material. Okay, so the last thing that I need to do for these is just raise the blade up so that I can cut these backs off at that last groove and go ahead and cut all my backs to that dimension. Okay, so I've got the bottom drawer box just in light clamps here. Again, it's just going to be glue and screws in the corner, but I can take this opportunity to get my measurement for the bottoms. And because my grooves are 1/4 inch deep, I need to add a 1/2 inch to this measurement, and I need to add 1/4 inch to this measurement. So, I'll go ahead and glue and screw this together and get a bottom cut, and we'll do a good test fit and see where we're at. Okay, so the bottoms fit in nicely, and I think I'm going to do 3 screws in these since they're so wide. And I just created a story stick here. Not that it really matters on a drawer bottom, but it's just a little attention to detail. So I created a little story stick to mark out where my screws go. And I'll use that on each of the drawers, and then they'll be the same. Okay, so there's all the drawers built. Next up I need to get the trim on the front before I start installing these and putting in the drawer glides and stuff. So that's what I'm going to do next, is get the trim on the front. Okay, so one of those previous projects, I had cut a bunch of extra of these thin strips, just specifically for edging plywood. So I'm going to use up some of that material. It's all in alder, and I'm just going to glue and pen nail it, and then we can come back in and start installing drawer glides in this cabinet. Pen nails are really there just to hold it until the glue dries. Okay, so just like I've done in previous builds, I've got a little block set up here that's the thickness that I want my drawer fronts to be. It's just clamped in place, and the drawer front is just set in and pushed up against that block, and I'm going to screw that in place. Okay, and I know this isn't the best view because these drawers are so wide, but I've clamped a block on the front so that I get that right on where it needs to be, and I'm flush on the bottom, and I'm just going to screw the glide in place. Okay guys, so there's the drawers, they're all in, they fit and finish nice, so that's all really good. I made this top drawer a little shallower than the plans call for. And I did this by increasing my spacing a little bit between these drawers, so the plans will still work exactly as they're published. And I may change the plans, I'm not sure on that yet. We'll see. But just know the plans work, but if you want a shallower drawer up top like I did, you just need to increase your spacing here a little bit, and it works out fine. Next up, we're going to go after the drawer fronts, and I'll come out in the morning and start milling the walnut to these drawer fronts. I have the walnut here, it's all ready to go, but I have some milling to do and whatnot to get in here. And then we'll install these drawer fronts and call this kind of a wrap for this cabinet, and we'll probably do that corner door next. So I will see you guys in the morning when we go after some walnut. Okay, so I know this is hard to see, and I apologize for that, and not much I can do about it. But what I've done is I've created a jig for my handles. My handles are on order, and they won't be here until next week sometime. But I'm using the same handles that I used on the outfeed table because these are longer drawers. So I created some center lines on here, on the drawer front, as well as the center line here. And then I also have those on my template. So I'm simply going to line up all my marks. And then I'm going to mark these two holes. And now I'll drill those all the way through, and I'll use these to mount onto the cabinet itself after I give this a quick sanding to get rid of my pencil marks. And then we'll have to put something temporary on it until the new handles show up. Okay, I've got my shim on the bottom. I've got a couple of business cards in each side to maintain my gap. And then I'm just going to drive these longer screws through the mount holes. Hold the drawer front in place, and now I can open that drawer and screw it in from the back side. Okay, just a coat of armor seal on the front. I'll probably toss some temporary drawer pulls on it just until the regular ones show up. So that just about wraps it up for this cabinet. I think it's also going to wrap it up for this video, as I think it's getting a little bit long. We get after it next time. We'll do the door and the tool pull out and get the top put on this bad boy and wrap it up.